Go.
What's up, guys? Aichi here from Team Overtrigger, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my Majesty Lord Blaster deck profile. Alright. So, we're going to start off with the grade 3s. We run 4 copies of Majesty Lord Blaster. Kind of the boss monster of this deck. If you have Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark and Soul, it gets plus 5k and Drive plus 1, as well as a crit. This is continuous during your opponent's turn, so it's quite annoying to deal with for your opponent sometimes. And, it allows you to also put 2 things into Soul every turn, which allows you to get 2 more force markers. So it gets very big very quickly. Next, for our grade 3s, we run 4 grade 3 heals, just because we want that survivability, and we're willing to sacrifice the 5k shield for having another grade 3 to pitch for stride, as well as that early survivability and giving a plus 10k and minus 2 crit. Now, grade 2s is this deck's specialty, so of course we're going to run 4 copies of the man, the myth, the legend, Blaster Blade, my avatar, of course. Easily. If you have 4 more rear guards, it gets plus 1 crit. You don't really use that skill too often in this deck, just because he's not your main grade 2 ride target. But the retire is definitely nice. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and it retires one of your opponent's front row rear guards, which is definitely helpful. Especially against decks that have a lot of rear guards. Next, we're going to run kind of your main grade 2 ride target, but unfortunately we only run it at 3. Blaster Dark. We only run it at 3 because there isn't enough space to really run it at 4, especially if we want to be as optimal as possible. But Blaster Dark allows you to counterblast 1, and your opponent chooses one of their rear guards and retires it. And once per turn, if your opponent has no rear guards, you ditch a card from hand, and it gets Twin Drive. So that early Twin Drive definitely helps in card advantage, as well as getting that on-hit pressure. Alright, next we're running 4 copies of Absolute Blade Knight Libero. Libero is a very useful card. It allows us to basically toolbox any grade 2 out of the deck. So it's Counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2, call to an open rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. But, what really makes this card special is that you can use it even if you don't have any Counterblast, because it allows you to Soul Blast instead if you don't have them. Alright, next we're running 3 copies of Favored People of Light and Dark Blue. I initially tried running it at 4, but, it just really clogged up my hand, and you don't really need it at 4, because you're not going to be going into it over and over and over again. It's a kind of a once or twice thing per game. Well, depending on your situation. Next is kind of a funny tech option. 2 Blaster Blade Seeker. Quite easy. When placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you discard a card from hand, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, and retire it. And the funny thing is, if you ride this, if you went second, you can give yourself 2 crit. Also, if you didn't ride the turn that it's on rearguard and it attacks, what you can do is you can put it on bottom of the deck and draw a card, so it definitely generates a little bit of advantage there. And that combines later with the stride we're going to talk about. Next, we're running 2 copies of Starcall Trumpeter. One place, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and return a Blaster and when Light and Darkness intersects from drop to hand. And it also is a 10k booster if I have a Blaster Vanguard, which 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a Blaster Vanguard, let's be honest. So it's a 10k booster that brings things back from drop and recycles your order, which we're going to talk about next. We only run 1 copy, unfortunately, just because there isn't enough space and it kind of clogs up the hand. Basically, if you have Blaster Blade on Vanguard or Rearguard, it allows you to search Blaster Dark, and vice versa. If you have both on field, then you get to search a Majesty Lord Blaster. It's really nice just being able to cycle this back to your hand and get your pieces. If you don't see it, then that's fine, but if you do see it, it's definitely just a great card to have. Alright, next we're going to move on to grade 1s. Starting off, we have 4 copies of Blaster Friend Barkgall. Barkgall, it only has a rearguard skill. When your card named Blaster Blade is placed on Vanguard or Rearguard in the same column as the unit, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, you countercharge 1. So it's basically the deck's countercharger, and it's kind of the best bet, for being completely honest. And it also combines with our grade 2 Lu, because Lu allows us to counterblast one and put it into Soul to call out a grade 2 blaster. So what you can do is you boost it with Blaster Fem Barkall, then you superior call a Blaster Blade, which allows you to countercharge and basically get back the resources that you use for Lu. Right. Next, we have 3 copies of Wingle Brave. Wingle Brave's skill, when the attack is boosted or the attack that it declared hits, you can look at top 7 for a blaster and add it to hand, and then shuffle deck. We run 3 mostly because of our starter, which also has the Wingle Brave name, but we're going to get to that in a second. Next, we run 2 copies of Laurel Knight Sisylis, the grade 3 searcher. I initially debated running the original Stride Fodder version of this, but I feel like being able to search your grade 3, especially with our G-Zone, is definitely helpful. And for our last grade 1, we run the grade 1 PG from the Alt-Mile trial deck. If I were you, I would personally run the newer overdress grade 1 PGs that can sometimes be free. I just don't happen to have any extra, so this is what we have to go with. But this you use with a G Guardian to superior call it from deck, and that's why we run it. Alright, grade 0s. Our starter, Wingle Brave. It's a Forerunner, so when a Royal Paladin rides it, you call it to rearguard. And put this unit into Soul. When an attack hits during the battle, this unit boosted a unit with Blaster in its card name. You pay the cost, and if you do, you search your deck for up to 1 Blaster and reveal it to your opponent and put it in your hand and shuffle deck. So this really just allows you to fetch all of your pieces. It is an on-hit skill, which is the bit of the downside to it, but even still, it's just a really great card, and I would highly recommend it. Sure, you're losing the draw of the V-Starter, but even still, just being able to fetch anything from the deck is really nice. As for triggers, we run 2 stands, mostly because we aren't running the over-trigger in this build, which you may find a bit weird, but I feel like I'm experimenting really without the over-trigger, and I do find that being able to go into Ultima instead is quite funny. Next, we run 7 crit, 4 Stride Fodders, which I'm proxying right now. I don't have them, but we'll have them soon. So definitely, if you can't get your hands on them, the regular crits will work fine, but definitely you're going to want these Stride Fodder crits. And then we run 3 of the Floral Paladin Flogel, which enables multi-attacking. So you counterblast 1, and at the end of the battle, your unit named Blaster Blade attack the Vanguard. You may pay the cost, and if you do, choose up to 1 of your units named Blaster Blade on rearguard and stand it, and then you return it to deck. So it not only recycles itself, but it allows you to multi-attack with your Blaster Blade, which is very useful, considering your deck is kind of based around Blaster Blade, especially some of the strides as well. And then we run 3 draw PG. Would run 4, love running 4 in V, but you can't due to having to run the grade 1 PG. Alright, next we're going to move on to the G-Zone. Alright, so as for the G-Zone, we run 3 Holy Dragon Crystal Luster Dragon. Skill, you turn a card from your G-Zone face up and it gets all of the original abilities of one of your heart cards. So this combines really well with Majesty Lord Blaster, because you get you still get the plus 5k and plus a crit, and you get plus 1 drive, so this will be very big with quad drive, and its second skill allows it so if your opponent were to guard from his or her hand, if you have 3 or more grade 2 or greater units, he or she must call 3 or more at the same time. So that guard restrict mixed with big numbers with on-hit pressure is definitely just a huge factor and just greatness of Royal Paladin strides. Anyway, we run 3 Alfred Holy Saber. It's a persona flip. I don't know why I'm running 3. You only need to run 2. I would run another copy of this in place of this, but this is just how we have it. It's a flip fodder for now. So its skill is GB2, Counterblast 1, choose one face down card with the same name as this unit from your G zone to turn it face up. Choose a card from your hand and discard it. If you have a heart card with Alfred or Blaster in its card name, choose one of your rear guards with Blaster Blade in its card name. Until the end of turn, it gets plus 3k and continuous rear guard. During this unit's first battle of this turn, this unit performs Twin Drive. So this allows your Blaster Blade to perform a Twin Drive as well as gain 3k. Usually you want to have it on a force marker. But this combines really well with Floral Paladin Flogel because you can restand it after giving it all of your trigger effects, which is really funny and your opponent usually doesn't expect it. Next we have Saint of Twinsword. His skill is when it's boosted, Counterblast 1, turns on the G-Zone face up, and then you get to Superior Call 2 grade 2s. Excuse me. So you get to Superior Call 2 grade 2s, so this is kind of really if you're in a bind and can't really do anything or don't have anything in hand. Do note, if you do Superior Call Libero, his skill to Superior Call another grade 2 is only from hand, so that doesn't work. But my thing I like to do with this is I like to Superior Call, where is it? Sorry, I like to Superior Call Blaster Blade Seeker just because it allows me to get more cards in hand. That's just me though, you know, just an idea. Alright, next we run 2 Gancelot Peace Sabers. Their Vanguard skills don't really matter, but basically it gives you a countercharge, a crit, and quad drive. We don't really stride into this anymore due to us having Crystal Luster and Royal Paladin, but it's definitely something you want to flip up because it allows your Blaster Blade to resist, so if you're going in a Kagura matchup, you definitely going to want to flip this up. Next for our Zero with Dragon, we have Ultima. Our Ultimate Stride, Counterblast 2, when this unit's placed on Vanguard Circle, you may pay the cost, and if you do, search your deck for up to 4 cards and shuffle your deck. Call 2 cards from among them to separate rearguard circles and put the rest on top of your deck in any order, and until the end of turn, choose all your units to get your trigger effects. This is the game closer. This is the end goal. This is what you want to get towards. This is what you want to be your end game. So that's why we run the stand triggers. So what you want to do, you want to stack up a crit on top and a stand trigger, so all of your units stand after attacking, and all of your units get a crit in 10k. It's just very, very nasty. Usually you see it in golds, but I like to think that it belongs in royals too. Alright, moving on to G-Guards, we have 2 Divine Beasts, Holy Beast Divine Mascall. Mascall skill GB1, you turn it face down, G-Guardian face up, and it gets 10k if there's a rear guard in your front row. Next we run Mixed Element Colburn. I like this card because it gets plus 5k for every 2 cards in your opponent's hand. And in this meta, there's a lot of cards. There's a lot of decks that gain a lot of card advantage, so I definitely find running this is just a really good choice as a Grey Elemental. Then we run Laser Guard Dragon. It's kind of just a flip fodder. It only really gets 5k if you have like a front or rear guard, but this is just generally what you want to flip up with Mascall. And then finally we have Little Great Sage Marin. Marin skill, you Soul Blast 1, and you Superior Call a grade 1 or greater from deck to Guardian Circle, and that gets plus 5k shield. So what you can do, you can call it to Guardian Circle, then you can Superior Call your grade 1 PG. So if you don't, even if you don't have a PG in hand, you can still PG an attack from your opponent.
Is there any people you'd like to thank for...
And that's been my deck profile.
Is there any people you'd like to thank for helping you with your deck?
Yes. I'd like to thank Saya and Stokea definitely for helping me get the cards I need. And just, yeah, you know. Anyways, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and peace out.